Hello, everyone. Hello, world. Hello, creatives. Welcome to another fresh episode of the Nollywood Dealmakers, where we discuss everything film business and all its value chain in Nigeria. And I am your host, Musa Sunusi Ahmed. We all know that Nigeria's film and TV industry all started way back, pre-colonial time, and later colonial period, and today in the modern world. From stage from folklore to stage down to the real videotapes, and lots more of medium that we have passed through before we get the position we are. To be all talking like, oh, Nollywood is the second largest film industry in the world when it comes to volume, a lot more. And this narration has to do with a lot of cultural preference, thematic preference, a lot more. And a lot of people, a lot of ethnic community in Nigeria come together to build this industry that we are all proud of it. From Igbo, Yoruba, Hausas, and all some other tribes have tried to make sure that this journey has been grateful in making Nigeria the biggest industry in Africa and the second largest in the world when it comes to volume. And in another perspective, this industry have been influenced by loads more of things, be it our cultural and social values, be it the colonialist, be it lots more of things have influenced the development of this industry. And from different perspectives, there are lots more of influence that shaped our own stories, and a lot of people are seeing Nigeria differently because of the films we distribute to the world. And to do this justice to this topic of the influence of Nollywood, how Nigeria is Nima is shaping Yoruba culture and stories. We invited one of the leading professors when it comes to Yoruba culture and the art of filmmaking in Nigeria to discuss this. And the person is no other than Professor Goki Alamu. Professor, welcome to the Nollywood Dealmakers.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mohammed. Sonny Hamad, yeah, it's great to be with you. Thank you.
Professor, maybe for most of our viewers, this may be the first time they are hearing Professor Goki Alamu after even traveling the world, professing and promoting the art of filmmaking and our culture around the world, from Europe, Asia, North America, and all across the world, and becoming an award-winning individual around the world, and a scholar, a researcher who have paid the dues. But most of our viewers, maybe this is the first time they are hearing this. Please tell us
Yes.
about your story and your journey from where you are and where you are now and where you are heading.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah. Um, Currently with the Ekiti State University, Ado Ekiti. I'm a professor of Yoruba language, literature, and media arts, including film. That was what I studied at the PhD level. And since the beginning of the decade, I've been teaching this in universities. Um, I've also been involved in some foreign language teaching. I've been to the Osaka University at Japan, is in Japan, where I taught their students, the aspects of Yoruba language, culture, and anthropology. Yeah, there too, you know, I wrote a book with one other professor, Professor Shiota, before I returned to Nigeria in the year 2012. And then I was with the University of Ibadan for 2 years on a sabbatical appointment where I taught Yoruba film and literature. Yeah, the focus of my PhD thesis is on the aesthetics of the Yoruba film industry. Yeah, aesthetics of the Yoruba. That is my PhD thesis. Yeah, so there I discuss many aspects of the administration, production, marketing, and distribution uh, that are going on in the industry. So after coming to UI, I later moved to the university, Ekiti State University. And from there to Beijing Foreign Studies University, where I was involved in foreign, language teaching too. And here am I back in Nigeria to Ekiti State University. So the host, I'm happy to be with you. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome, Prof. And your backstory was beautiful. But what is your childhood like? Your childhood and the art of storytelling, and
Okay.
what inspired you to carve a niche?
Okay. Childhood. Okay. Fine. I attended a primary school in Ibadan called St. Luke's Demonstration School. St. Luke's Demonstration School. There I cut my tooth, as a young boy, just getting into school. And from there, from the primary school, you will know that in those days, time are created for storytelling. There'll be a time they will just say, okay, it is time for storytelling. And a senior, maybe in the senior class, primary 5 or 6, will come, apart from the teacher, to tell us stories. And then we always love such stories because they are beautiful stories that teach us about character, morality, how to live, and how to be successful. So from here, one could say the interest in storytelling, started. And in those days, we have all these, what do you call it? Moonlight stories, where people come together, in a community, and the old will choose a topic or choose a story and tell the younger ones. So there was this communal life that we enjoy in our youth, and I think which are fast disappearing now. Yeah. So from primary to secondary, and from there to the university. So that's what I can tell you about my youth. And then, well, we enjoy, storytelling. Then, but the culture is fast disappearing now. We don't have moonlight tales. We don't hear tortoise stories again, and uh, it is appalling, and that is why film has taken over, whether we like it or not. So the culture of reading is no more there. When I was in the primary school, we read Fagua's novels, D.O. Fagua, and we read,
Yeah.
some other Odunjo, J.F. Odunjo. So there was this reading culture. You want to read about your people, you read the literature, read the culture, but these things are fast disappearing. The interest, is waning among students. Yeah. Thank you.
Prof, then why this culture is falling? seeing
Yeah,
like it has influenced you so much. The way you tell a certain story of morale,
yeah,
how to be
morality.
successful, how to
Yeah,
respect elders, a lot more.
yeah,
And there are impacts there. So why all this is diminishing now?
yeah. The impact of technology and modernization, if, if we will say, yeah. And like I said, when we talk of technology, film is part of it. And then instead of reading, when you watch a film with its visual elements, you enjoy it, whether we like it or not, more than reading. Yeah. So technology is part of it. And then, well, the lack of what is it, enforcing, you know, our culture through reading is part of it. Our government too is not they are not encouraging it. They are not encouraging it. Everything is, apart from oil, education, you know what it is in Nigeria. Yeah, everybody is just struggling, and then parents just want to make sure their kids go to school. The government schools are no more. So it's part of it. The curriculum, yeah, then the issue of technology, then the issue of enforcement. Those are the reasons. Not so many reasons. Yeah. If
And
we
there are
if,
many
if
concerns.
yeah, if
There
we
are
have
many concerns.
okay,
I'm with you,
go ahead.
Prof.
Okay,
I'm with you.
if we have insisted, like, and practice what we have in some other countries. Like I said, I've been to Japan, I've been to China. Their children, or the youths, still engage in reading. In fact, reading the culture, reading their history. Our youths in Nigeria, the way at a time I learned history was cancelled as a subject. I don't know if it has been brought back. Yeah, I don't know. So if we don't know,
It's now a selective course.
yeah. So if we don't know about the history of our country, and how do we then want to know about the culture? Because language, history, culture, they are interwoven. They are interwoven, and they give us an identity. That's why you can say I'm a Yoruba person, because you speak your language, you know the culture, you know the history. I am a Nigerian because you know about the history of Nigeria, you know about the culture, and so on. So what can we say? And what do we have? So that's it. We need to revisit our curriculum, and then beautiful. At times we have good national policy on education, but the implementation has always been the problem with Nigeria. So here we are.
Yeah, here we are with
Yeah,
lots
here
more
we
of concern
are.
that
Yeah.
all our children are sent to college or universities to study STEM courses. I mean, engineering, law, accounting.
Yeah.
No more studying of arts.
No, no.
Is
Humanity.
this a concern?
Yeah, we are having problems with humanities. Yeah, that is hearts. Seriously. Seriously. Yeah, we have enrollment difficulties. The enrollment is dwindling. Government is stressing sciences, like you said, technology, engineering. But what about the arts, humanities? Humanities has to do with how we live in the society with others, how we conduct ourselves, how we practice our culture. Like in Yoruba, we call the Omoluabi, culture, how to live, and you live right, the ethics. But all these are no more. That you get it in humanities, not in sciences. And if you don't have it, and you are not living well with your neighbors, and there is no harmony, then what are we talking? Well, how do we have a country? How do we have a country? So humanity is important. The arts, are important. Yeah, just like literature and film, very important.
The arts and humanities are all important, meaning
Yeah,
we should inspire our children to go and study the arts,
yeah,
humanities, and
yeah,
the history of their
yeah.
ancestors.
There's nothing wrong in that. For instance, I studied Yoruba. I studied Yoruba. That's my language. But how many parents will want his or a child to study Yoruba? We say Yoruba of all courses. But my brother, it doesn't. Yeah, like people, somebody studying Hausa language or Igbo language, you will say, "What do you want to do with Hausa language?" But there is nothing. The sky is your limit. Once you know what you are doing, huh? The sky is your limit. And the kind of study we do these days is not the studies of the past. There are so many things with the internet, with so many journals on the internet. You read and then you do what we call collaborative work with others, maybe in the area of sociology, in the area of what is even engineering. We are now trying to see if we can have a dictionary, Yoruba dictionary of mechanical engineering. I'm doing
Wow.
with some colleagues. So if we can have that Yoruba dictionary of mechanical engineering, what do we call all these instruments in Yoruba? And by the time we develop all that, because what the national policy on education says is that in the first 3 years in the primary school, you teach that child in the language of his or her environment or with the mother tongue before you switch to English in primary 4. So we are developing the meta language, the text, so that if government now wants, even if they don't want, once we begin as teachers and they see the success of such experiment, maybe they will want to buy into it. It doesn't really matter. Late Professor Bob Swafunwa did that with what we call the 6-year IFE project, where he had 2 groups. The first group studied in Yoruba, in the mother tongue, and the second group studied in English. And it will amaze you that the first group did better than the second group that studied in English. We are
Wow.
just, we are just deceiving ourselves. We even we if you want to speak any European language, let's say English, you first think in your mother tongue before you speak English. So it's just natural. Yeah. Thank you.
And in our own film and TV industry, that is this saying, the English dominance in Nigerian film and TV industry is getting out of hand and is killing our linguistic prowess
Yeah,
and diminishing most of our languages.
yeah, yeah. You are right to some extent, but don't forget that when we talk about Nollywood, we are specifically talking about English dominated films. There are some other regional films in Nigeria. Yoruba industry is not Nollywood. I want anybody, to with me on that. We have the Hausa film industry, which is called I've forgotten. It has a name.
Nollywood.
Kannywood. Kannywood. So also the Igbo. People use Igbo. So I don't know what they mean. When we say Nollywood, we say our regional films industry. So it's unfortunate that Nollywood is not projecting, the language, our local languages, or our cultures. They want to compete with Hollywood, which and the gap is still too much. Why don't you use your own language to project your culture, to project your stories? Because that is what many nations of the world are doing. They now use their films to project themselves, to create an identity. And don't forget that when we talk about film, the film medium is rooted in an ancient tradition, human tradition, and that is storytelling. There is no other thing that the film industry does than tell stories. Our stories is our stories, beautiful stories, beautiful culture, and these are the things we should be projecting. Yeah, thank you.
And meaning like all this is backdated to days whereby we cycle around the elders in the family to listen story of wisdoms,
Yeah,
folklores,
yeah,
and later on stage dramas.
yeah, and don't forget that any work of art, literature inclusive, and even film, is a mirror of the society that created it. So that's what we should be doing. Our film should mirror our society because it's the Nigerian society that created it. And then that is all what the sociology of literature theory is talking about. Films dwell on social institutions, family, father, mother, brother, sister, and there is nothing in the world or under the world that the film cannot cover. Sex, imam raping, priest deceiving, what is it? So the film has what I can call that poetic license. You know, there is nothing. Even our economy is in our culture. What is it? Our technology is in our culture. If we look at it very well, so our films should project us. We should not try and copy what the Europeans are doing. And we cannot because the gap is even much. There is none of our film that can, from my knowledge, there is none, even talk of the English-based film that has received any international award. And we have Canes. We have this one in Canada. How many of them? Even when we continue to try, we continue to try and try and try because that is not, it's not our culture. It's foreign. So let's use our what we have to project ourselves to the outside world. That's what we are saying.
Prof, our own stories, the films we make locally here in Nigeria, are not reflective of our culture, our current culture.
They are, like I said, they are reflective because, like I said, they mirror the society. But I'm talking about the so-called Nollywood films in English. And then you see, if we want our films to be acceptable internationally, especially the Yoruba films, I don't know about that, I've not watched much of, we should play down on these supernatural elements. We don't, though it's part of our culture, the supernatural. You see flying objects, you see witches and wizards, you see what is it? We should play down on that and let us reflect the modern times. How do we live now? How do we live? The reality of our time. That is what we're talking about. Let's play down on this. And of course, all days give lazy ending to our films. Instead of thinking out how to end the film, the denouement, that's what it's called. Then the producer or the film, the story, what is the creator, we quickly run down to one imam. We just end the film and give a solution to the problem they've been, you know, having since all this while for almost 2 hours. Then end the film we end in just 5 minutes. So let us be creative. Well, we should increase our creative thinking, the creative level. And that is why the whites are better. They are better in filmmaking. And of course, our government is not interested. If the government is interested in filmmaking, film production, there is nothing stopping the Nigerian government from having a film bank, because our films are now what is it? Serious foreign exchange earner if we concentrate on it. But our leaders, the concentration is forever on oil. But these are non-oil things that can bring us, foreign exchange. Even let's look at our tourism industry, because film, tourism, they are all both under the culture. How far have we developed our tourism? How far have we developed our film industry? How far? Create a film industry, like you have a bank of industry or agricultural bank. Let's have a film bank so that producers, genuine producers, can go there, borrow money, and produce high quality films. Not the kind of films we see all about. Thank you.
Wow. Let us have Nigeria Film Bank.
Yeah.
I mean, we should presented this idea.
Yeah, we can have it. We're so determined. Yeah, so that producers can go there, they borrow. There is no way all over the world that they don't borrow. Even Hollywood, they borrow. And then after box office, you must have made some money, and pay back. And then the kind of format we use cannot be accepted internationally. Is the video format that we use. But over the world, it's not the video. They use what I call, if I can remember, that you can take to, you shoot on reels. You shoot on reels. You make your films on reels, not the video format that we use. Yeah, that is the international standard. We are just using the video format because of our economy. That's what our economy can carry. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, and that brings me.
Abroad, they have huge budgets for films. Can we afford it here? And what has been sustaining the industry are just the producers, individual producers, and marketers. Those are the people who still sustaining the industry, not the government. Where are the laws? Where is the involvement, and so on? Thank you very much.
And Professor, you bring my attention into Tango. You're an expert of ASEAN culture, with your experience in Japan and China. Korean cinema is now a big thing, a big deal around the world, and most of their movies and films were made using local dialects.
Yeah.
I mean, local language as a means of communication.
Yeah.
How are you seeing in the impact?
Yeah, that's what we are saying. Until those countries of the world, Korea, Chinese, in India, have you ever seen them produce their films in English? Have you ever seen? Yeah, it's in their language, because it is their country they are trying to project and to give themselves an identity. They don't pretend like what we do here. In fact, I can tell you that there are some professors in Japan, in China, that cannot speak English. English is not the main thing. And it is a known fact all over the world. Go and ask language experts and linguists. In the world, no language is superior than others. But that it is our mentality. So far, you cannot speak English in Nigeria. You are a non-literate, which is not so. How do you define an illiterate? if I can speak in Yoruba, and it's the only language I know and I've acquired, and I can explain in it, and you can understand me or another person, I'm not an illiterate. I'm literate in my language. So let's change our mentality. Everything English, English. Even the English people, is it not that their language they are projecting? When you look at films from the US, Hollywood, is their language. Then we will now want to imitate them. Why? So I commend also those other countries. Chinese is Chinese language. Chinese films, Chinese language. Though there can be subtitles. Now, if you cannot understand when you now read the subtitles, you have an idea of what they are talking. We do that too, but why do we now want to copy? Have you seen any Chinese man? Well, even if they dress in English suit or something, maybe it's as a result of the story. So why do we like, projecting other people's culture than ours? We should learn to do our things by ourselves and create an identity for ourselves.
And this brings into my attention. Once at Sundance Film Festival, an Arabian filmmaker or film director once told me like, why they should. I asked them, why are you not making films in English? You are making things very difficult for yourself. What he have told me is wonderful. He said, Musa, if we create movies in English, then we are not helping our own economy.
That is it.
If our films are made in Arabic, first it's a two-way thing. We promote our language and we help our economy. Because if our movie is with have a story to tell with good quality, then Western people from all around the world will seek the services of local translators, interpreters, and that will help our economy. And we are creating a value chain. And likewise, they will seek the service of the voiceover artists. And those people, if wherever they are around the world, they may be originally from us. So we have no reason to make films in English.
Yeah,
and
my
that
brother. Yeah, right. But it's because of our mentality. Even see. Let's start from oil production. Leave film for now. If we have oil in Nigeria, and we now take our oil abroad to refine, what kind of mentality? And we cannot refine our oil locally and make things, a bit comfortable for our people. You now take oil, you produce oil in Nigeria, you take it overseas to refine, and you bring it back and convert whatever production cost to dollars, and you sell. So it is still leadership. Problem of leadership. You can do you get my analogy? That is oil. That is oil. Not that we cannot have refineries. We can have our local. Now it is foreign. They prefer foreign refinery. So it is in our mentality. That is also, you can liken it to film, that we prefer foreign, everything foreign than local.
Then, Professor, how could we be able to change this mentality and do the social engineering?
I've told you, it's the leadership. The leadership should show that example. For instance, let us start from eating what we produce. Let us start with our language. We are not saying English should not be spoken officially. Nobody is saying that. But at our local level, the houses of assembly, I'm happy Lagos is doing that. Maybe once or twice in a week, Lagos State Assembly use Yoruba for debate. Why can't we use why English? And some of our lawmakers, they are just in there, they don't even understand it. That is why some of them are asleep when they are. Why can't we speak our language? What? Huh? Must we speak English at all times? Huh? Let us promote our values. Our language is part of our value. Our culture is part, we have cultural values. Let's promote our values. That is what we are saying. And we can do that through our films. Because films all over the world, you know, is a medium and a fundamental social marker. Yeah, and is a cultural product. Films are cultural products too. So if we say they are cultural products, our culture, are they being portrayed in all our films? No. No.
So Paul, I know time is not our friend. Let's
Yeah.
get into the real gist for before we wrap it up. In the last 3 to 4 decades that you have been researching Yoruba language and
Yeah.
film arts, how do you see the influence of the industry? I mean, the Yoruba films and TVs in shaping the culture, the social, and the stories of Yoruba society. Because
Mm,
we have all this saying like uh, there are so many ritual observance stories, and that has
mm,
been selling globally. Like Yoruba is all about rituals and other things.
mm.
That
Yeah.
in a nutshell, in the last 3 to 4 decades that you have been observing and studying the industry, uh,
We have some people.
yeah, someone call me. Abina, you should help us a little. So in the last uh, 3 to 4 decades that you have been studying and observing the Yoruba language and film arts, what how do you see this influence the Yoruba culture and stories?
Yeah. Okay. You see, I think I've said this before that film, just like any work of literature or art, is rooted in an ancient tradition of storytelling. Films tell stories. Don't forget that. That is basic. And what kind of stories should films tell? Yeah, it can be folkloric, our folklore, and you know what I mean by folklore. Those are our folklore stories. The people story, our history, how it is told, how they told us, how they were told when we were young, whether they are we believe in them or not. In fact, as a you believe in them because when they tell you about tortoise, the tortoise did this, the tortoise did that. You at that level, you are just interested in the story and the songs in the story, in the folklore. You don't want to query or want to know whether can this be true. You take it as the truth, and that is part of the things we call in literature the truthful lie. Is a lie, but we take it as the truth. Truthful lie. Nobody, because they are used to teach us morals. The tortoise will misbehave and it will be punished. So we are telling right from the youth that if you misbehave, you'll be punished, and the punishment might be great. So that is one aspect, using films to tell our folkloric, stories. But coming to the contemporary period, we can still use film to tell our modern stories. Modern stories. Fine. You have some modern locations. We see that in films. How do we now relate now? How do we live? And that is why our modern stories, you see crime, you see theft, you see murders, you see killings, you see blood, which we do not have in those days. So, and the influence of all this on the youth, and you can see the level of crime. So, films are great social markers. It is what we project more than the youth will practice, because they are the they are the what do I call them? Most of the people watching these films, they are the audience. And some of these things they see, they want to copy, they want to practice. And what is the consequence? We don't have peace anymore. But if we've been using and that is the influence on films, on our stories, and on the society. If we have limited our films to the good things of life or the positive things in the society, then maybe our society would have been more better. But the kind of culture we have, ugly culture of violence has taken over. We don't now have, our cultural values are being eroded, taken over by foreign cultures. And all these are reflected in our films. And all these, the youth audience are seeing and practicing. So that is the influence I can see. That's the influence. We don't want to tell our stories. We want to tell other people's stories. We want to use gun. You want to use bomb. Do we use bomb in our society?
No.
They've now brought that in. It's part of it. You want to shoot. You want to steal. You want to rob. You don't want to. Our ethical values. No more hard work. All these values. No more truth. And of course, like I said, our leaders must live by example. When they have too much money, when they want to be rich, our youths will copy them. Everybody wants to be rich in Nigeria. We don't believe in honesty anymore. People want to join politics and be rich and siphon all the money they can. Corruption is part of the system and it's killing all aspects of our life, including the film. So,
And from what you have said, we tend to be telling other people's story instead of our own story,
yeah,
whereby we are always copying what America
copy,
is doing.
yeah,
Like
copy,
all American stories are
yeah.
stories based on telling us like America is great, America is perfect, Americans have no problem.
In American films, my brother, I have studied American films. In American films, what we have, the themes of American film is sex, violence, what is it? So many evil and negative things. And then when all this happen, at the end of the day, how do they end the film? You see the actor or the protagonist now getting in love with a woman she must have met during the course of carrying out all. Well, that actor or the protagonist must have tried to defend his society. That is why you have a lot of violence. They will come up. There will be a group of people, like we have bandits all over the Nigeria. But somebody will come up in the form of a protagonist against all these violences. and with the help of the government or something, all these bad people will be overcome. So that is the American culture. Sex, violence, rape. And that is what we are copying.
And that is affecting our society,
It is
whereby the rate of rape cases report is increasing.
Yeah.
The rate of corruption is increasing.
Yeah.
But the rate of patriotism is decreasing.
Yeah. Yeah. It is now. It is, how do I put it? It is an irony. Even with all the problems in America, they are still so patriotic to their country because they have good leaders. Unlike in Nigeria, we don't have good leadership. There is no more patriotism here. America is ready to use all our resources to rescue one citizen. See death in Nigeria almost every day, and the government is not taking any action. We are treating ourselves like animals. Death has no more. What is the meaning? You see dead bodies on the street. You see people bringing out guns to kill their fellow. Where did we go wrong? How did we get to this level? It is because we do not protect or, embrace our own cultural values or ethical values. That is the problem in all our spheres of our life, in our art, in our economy, in our politics. We want to copy. So we are not getting it right, my brother.
So probably before wrapping it up, what type of stories?
I'm watching the time for you.
Yes. Yeah. What type of stories? What type of stories are you willing to begin to see on screen from the Yoruba film industry?
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, one area we have not really looked at is adaptation. Adaptation. We have fine literature on history, on culture, on whatever. We have so many. And then even the so-called the Americans, they've overtaken us on this. They adapt their successful literary writings into films. Nigeria started it when the time was good. Literatures like Things Fall Apart, those are good.
Wow.
Achebe, Olesho Yinka's work, our history, Efushetan Tinubu, Madam Tinubu, all these heroes and heroines and so on. Adaptation, we should go to it. And our story writers should write stories that can elevate us, elevate the mind, not stories of shooting, violence, rape, robbery, and so on. Stories that can elevate. Yeah, let us take to adaptation. We have a lot of literature, English literature, Yoruba literature, Hausa literature, very good literatures that we can use those stories. Okay, what's the essence of films? Apart from entertainment, is it not to teach morals?
Yeah.
Morality is part of it. Yeah, to teach morals. So are we really teaching the morals?
Really, this is a big question.
And then we have the sources of adaptation. We have the materials.
And one day, a Yoruba producer.
That is why I single out one Yoruba producer, and that's Tunde Kelani.
Oh, Kelani.
Most of his films are adaptations from Yoruba work.
Yeah, and one day, we would like to see a Yoruba producer making an adaptation movie about the life of Professor Goki Alamu.
Yeah, but that would be more of a documentation, or it might not be a story. You just want to tell maybe a biography and so on. Even biographies are
So,
good.
so
They are good sources for fame. You look at the life of an individual and you weave your story around the individual. Yeah, it's just lazy thinking. Our producers and our story writers, they just want, and of course, what I know about the Yoruba industry, they are only interested in profit. That is why in the Yoruba film industry, every week you can see up to, well, it is getting better now. Every week in those days, you can see up to 250, 300 films. Everybody wants to be a producer. Everybody wants to be a producer and make his money. And then don't forget, the audience is there, especially the Yoruba audience is so large. Even for everything, Nigeria is a good market for anything because of the population. The Yoruba with a good what is it in theater before? Don't forget, it was their theater practitioners that now came into the film industry. So the Yoruba has that background. Good theater artists and groups. Onyade Jobi and Co. In those days, Baba Sala, Alawada and Co. So loyally, the audience follow them to the film medium, the film. Yeah. So everybody now wants to, but they know the audience is there. They want to make films so that you just make your profit quickly. And how much do they used to use because of the video format? I can tell you, 3 million, 4 million naira can make a film.
less than that.
Yeah, that is what they use. And then they will now, because of the fraternity between them, I can invite you. Mr. Ahmed, I'm shooting a film. Come and help me. Oh, come and help me. And I just pay you poorly because you want to help a brother. How can an industry grow?
Program kan tó academic system.
Yeah.
Lórí àwọn bóyá China lórí wà bọ́ kan ni o. So mo wá ń dọ̀tí àwọn kankan tó ń sọ síbẹ̀.
The thing is not.
Okay, Mr. Adebayo, can you mute your mic, please?
You said?
I'm talking to Adebayo Akindele Ajayi. Please muted his mic.
Okay. Bayo, how are you? This is one of my students.
I'm fine, sir. I'm fine, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Well done, sir.
Thank you. You joined the program.
That's a beautiful outing, sir. Excellent one, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome,
very much.
sir.
Yeah, you are blessed.
Thank you, too, sir. Thank you, sir.
You get your first work. You are getting A for your research.
Yes. Of course.
So I know we are not. Time is not our friend here. Lastly, before we go to our audience, what is your message to the industry stakeholders, producers, policy makers, and the industry at large?
Yeah,
your message
is
all of them.
Is a straightforward message. It's a simple message. We should standardize our industry. And how do we standardize it? We know what to do. We should standardize it like we have it in other climes. Let's stop doing our things like charlatans. When we have our laws, let us follow the laws and the rules. Like, for instance, look at the piracy laws are there. Are we implementing it? Huh? Whatever. You just go on air and so on. And even look at the music industry. Look at what these youths are singing. Profanity. But we're talking of the private parts are no more private. They've been exposed because they want to sing and we want to make money in the entertainment industry. So let us guide ourselves and know what we are doing. we can be great if we do the things the way it should be. That is it. Don't let the charlatan,
Okay.
don't let of money. That's the consideration, and no standard. Thank you very much.
Okay, then before we wrap it up,
Yes.
Again, before wrapping it up, I thought you want to wrap it up.
yes, we are doing this. Nasser, if you have a question, you can just have a single question. Then Adebayo, you have a single question. Then we say, Professor, wish a professor all the best. Nasser, do you have a question?
No, I don't have any question. You've been so wonderful.
Okay.
I love your questions, which I've tried, to react to. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Well,
so thank you. In the absence of,
I will be interested again if you can call me anytime and I have time. Well, in no distant future. You are doing a wonderful work. You and your team. What's his name? Bosun.
okay.
Eh?
Wow. Ooh. Okay. So thank you very much all. Thank you, Nasser. Thank you, Adebayo, and thank you everyone who have the privilege to join us. And we appreciate having Professor Gopi Alamu, a leading researcher, a veteran, and an evangelical person who has been professing for language and cultural development, and he is a custodian of Yoruba culture and film arts with specialization in film. Professor, we say thank you. We appreciate having you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Yeah, look forward to seeing you.
So thank you. And we apologize for the extra 9 minutes. We do.
Yeah, you've taken my time, so I'll be rushing to where I'm going. No problem.
So thank you.
I love the conversation. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so bye-bye.
So,
can I leave? Yeah.
Bye. Here we come to the end of today's edition of the Nollywood Dealmakers, where we discuss with one of the leading veterans and custodians of Yoruba culture and art films, Professor Gopi Alamu. And next week, we are inviting another excellent and accomplishing person to come and discuss the art of film and TV in Nigeria. On behalf of all our production crew, I remain your host, Musa Sunusi Ahmad, saying, join us next week.